Well. It's funny seeing you here, sir.
I know. I think it's about time that we finally had this conversation.
Yeah. We've been kicking this inevitable can down the road for too long.
A couple months, I think it's been now.
But we're here now.
We're here.
We're here now.
We made it. We're alive. We're breathing.
Exactly. So, Mr. Gio.
That's me.
AKA Bayani.
Bayani is you know what? Would you believe me if I told you that out of the dozens of people I've shared my music with and the millions of times I've had to explain it, you were the first person I've heard who, the first time I've heard you say my name out loud, you got it right on the first time.
Wow, what'd they say?
Bayani, like Bayani or something like that. Because
Bonsai?
No, people because the origin behind that name is that it's a Filipino word. Translates to hero. And
wow.
Not many people know that.
I like that.
Because when I was trying to come up with what my artist name wanted to be, because my cousin came up with it. His artist name is Drew Sweat, because it's based off of I forget the exact source of it, but there's another artist out there named like Andy Sweat or something like that, and he was like, oh, I want my name to be that, and he was like, don't overthink your name because then you might mess it up or something like that, and I was like,
yeah.
I was like, you know what? I'll just look for I'll just Google some Filipino translations, and that one hit, and I was like, all right,
that's fire.
This is the one.
I respect that. Yeah, didn't Travis get his name from Kid Cudi in a way?
Yeah,
Scott
Mescudi he got Travis Scott out of Scott Mescudi.
Yep.
And there's a bunch of people like that where it's like they'll just. I always love the conversation about where do you get your artist name from, because people's stories are always so unique.
Exactly.
It's a really, really interesting phenomena to dive into.
It really is, and it's honestly, in my opinion, the hardest part about wanting to be, or at least starting something, because you want it to stick and you want it to be like the long-term thing that you don't have to worry about changing. It's supposed to be forever. So for me, I know there was some options I had. I had like the Mario Malave show. I had so many different options. And I didn't even come up with the name on my own for this.
I think I know the source of your name. Is it, now correct me if I'm wrong, is it based off of Marshall Erickson's nickname in How I Met Your Mother?
Big Fudge.
Big Fudge.
Big Fudges. Yeah,
Big
yes.
Fudge.
Partial. Yeah, that is partial truth right there. Yeah. Yes, that is true. When I was in middle school, when I was in 8th grade, some friends in my homeroom would always do or say these How I Met Your Mother terms, and they did the slap bet. They would always do these things, and I'm looking at them like, what the heck are you talking about? And I felt kind of excluded, so I went out of my way to watch the show. And then when I'm watching and Marshall's calling himself Big Fudge, I'm thinking, why is this tall white guy named Big Fudge? That should be me. I don't have a nickname. And then I kept... Yeah, it was one of those things where it's like I wasn't even dubbed a nickname. I said I want to be called it, and, and it somehow stuck.
Give me that nickname.
Exactly, pretty much. So Fudge, yes, you're right about that. And then when it came to the podcast, I also thought about using that.
Fudge was incorporated somewhere in there.
Exactly. So I was just walking one day, and I was telling this buddy of mine, I was trying to come up with a name, and I was stressing. I was telling him I have everything damn near set up. I just need the name. And then as a joke, he said it in like a condescending way. He's like, "What about the Fudge effect?" And I was like, "You're joking, but like, holy shit, Eureka!"
That's perfect.
Yeah, I was ready to just run home. Yeah.
You were saying it in your head the whole time. You're like, the Fudge effect.
I was like, I need to write this down. I cannot forget it. Exactly.
The Fudge effect.
But it's interesting where we all have our beginnings,
have our origins.
Exactly.
Well, it's crazy too, because so for those of you who don't know, I'm a teaching major. So I want to go into history teaching.
Nice.
And one of the things that they reinforce very much, in fact, I don't even know if I would be able to have this podcast up, but I really don't care because I don't have a full-time job yet.
Yeah.
They always reemphasize clear your socials, make sure that they can't trace you back to anything. So one of the big things that I was going into is so my show that I do on the station, my DJ name is Benji, and for the longest time,
see that on the poster?
DJ Benji. Oh, is there another Benji out there that I don't know about?
Yeah.
Shout out to the other Benji that's been on the Fudge Effect. You don't know this, but you and I are connected somehow.
Somehow.
Someday we'll meet, and you and I are going to bond over our shared name.
Yeah.
So I go by Benji on that show.
Nice.
And it's like that's like the everything I use to promote myself. I'm Benji. fun fact about that, that's because that was my dog when I was like in the 5th grade. So whenever my family hears it, they're like, "Why did you name yourself after our dog?" And I'm like, "Don't worry about it." So essentially, one of the things that I had talked to a couple people at the station with who were really big on hip hop, I was mentioning to them, I said, I think I might need to like start uploading on like a new account where it's like my face isn't plastered all over it and stuff like that, or like you can't tell it's me. And they're like, "Why don't you do like an alter ego? Like, you know, like MF Doom does, or like, you know, like how Shady went by Slim Shady,
Kill Edward,
yeah, or like Kill Edward or something like that." So I was like, I mean, what would be a good like alter ego then? They were like, "Why don't you just go by Benji then?" And I was like, that'd be cool because, you know, it kind of sticks close to the original name, but it doesn't stem too far away, but it's also something that kind of rolls off the tongue. And I was like, I messed with that. So you're going to hear it first. This is a Fudge Effect official announcement right here, even though I did kind of announce it last week. My newest project on August 1st is going to be titled under the name Benji instead of...
So you're officially switching?
Not switching. Let's say it's more of an alter ego project.
Gotcha.
So this isn't
I gotcha.
This isn't a new artist or a fresh start. This is just a let's say like a detour for now.
So as long as it's obviously clean, or for the, not just in terms of music, in terms of just whatever you do when it comes to the station, whatever.
Yeah.
As long as it's not unhealthy, don't you think in today's society and generation that teachers and principals, whatever, they understand our generation a little more, and they'd probably be a little more lenient, so they'll probably be a little more chill with it?
Yeah, I think as long as, you know, I mean, the music I make is more catered towards myself.
Yeah.
And I don't really go out of my way to endorse things that I think the teacher shouldn't be endorsing. A lot of it is, you know, pushing self-care and mental health work and trying to reinforce a lot of that. So I feel like it isn't as incriminating as the as the teachers and administration might make it out to be, but I think at the same time, you know, I need a full-time job. So plus I think it'd be cool to work on like an alter ego for a bit, maybe change up the style a lot, because, you know, I will say a lot of the stuff I've been working on has been very traditional hip hop. It's been very this one's to Christian out there, very Griselda inspired. A lot of the producers I've been working with have been making me these soul inspired hip hop beats that have been really fun to work with, and, you know, just working on writing in terms of changing up my cadence and changing up my flow personally. It's been a lot of fun, and I think that the new project's going to sound different for sure, because a lot of the stuff that I did on the last one was very melodic. Yeah. But I think that this is going to be, you know, I think you guys are going to hear some hard bars when this one comes out. I'm gonna say that right now. It's going to be tough. I'm very excited. Maybe someday I'll leak it over to you like I have been to Maldo.
Yeah, that'd be great. So what got you into music to begin with?
So it loops back to the conversation I had about my cousin earlier, Drew Sweat. Again, he just released a project last November. Please listen to that, because it's a magnificent project that he worked so long on. That's you know, like top to bottom, just thematically perfect, and I think it's some of his best work. A couple years ago, I would say actually 2 years now, coming up on my 3-year anniversary of making music pretty soon, he and I sat down, and he was explaining to me he had just started his career, and he had this little at-home studio with a little MIDI keyboard, and there was a standing mic. And I remember thinking it was like the most professional stuff in the world, because he had a MacBook and a MIDI keyboard, and I was like, I've seen enough. This is the greatest thing I've ever seen. Yeah. And he goes to me, he goes, "Weren't you in choir for a couple of years?" And I was like, "Yeah, I did choir for a bit." He was like, "I'm trying to write down this hook for this song, and I just can't get my voice correct to do it. Do you want to try to like fill it in for me?" And I was like, I mean, I've never, you know, sung into a mic before in terms of like music producing, but I mean, I'd be down to try it out. And he looks at me, he goes, "You go for it." And I put the headset on, I do the hook, and we finish up, and he goes, "Have you ever thought about like making music?" And I was like, "No, why?" He goes, I have a beat that I haven't used yet. Do you want to try using it?" And I was like, "Sure." I mean, I've never tried doing something like that. So we spent maybe the next 3 or 4 hours in his room just labbing up this one song, and it took forever, and, you know, finding the harmonies and finding the melodies that we wanted to use, and, you know, what we wanted the song to be about, and eventually we finished it up. You can still find it. It's still up on my profile today. It's called Bluebird. It was also what your first project was named after. looking back on it and looking back at any of my old music, I honestly hate it, but I think that's how most people feel.
Yeah.
I think it just, it just shows that you had artistic growth and that you have grown as a person and have changed, the way you go about things. I still look at that song very fondly. Don't get me wrong, but, I think that if I were to do it today, I would go about it differently for sure. But I mean, that's how it started. And then eventually I told him, like, once that rush hit, after listening to that song back, I was like, I got to keep going. He was like, I got mad spare beats in the vault. I'm going to send them to you. You don't have to pay me, no nothing like that. Just send me your vocals, and I'll mix it myself. Because I didn't know how to use music production at the time. I was completely clueless. I wasn't going to watch YouTube videos on it or spend the hundreds of dollars it takes to go into music production to do that. And, we took our time with it, and eventually I released my first project June of 2021, and then that's what is known as the Bluebird EP, which again I still look back on very negatively, but
yeah,
but it's I would never take it down because that was that first stepping stone for me, and eventually it blossomed to where I am now, and I could never be more grateful to my cousin. I reinforce that every time I talk about him. Music is a very important form of artistic expression for me. I don't necessarily recommend it as therapy. If you are struggling, get help. Like,
please do.
Like, get help.
Yes.
Don't use music as a form of your only therapy.
Yeah.
It's therapeutic.
Please
and,
talk to someone. Do
like
that.
and it's cathartic. But like, please, for the love of God, like if you need help, like go out of your way to get that help. And I use music all the time. If I'm having a bad day, the first thing I'll do when I get home is I'll sit down, I'll set up the studio, and I'll just get to work. And, that's something that I do every day now. And to this day, I'm still wildly grateful for my cousin for getting me into it. And I will forever, ever be his number one fan. I'm telling you right now, Drew, if I ever show you this, you are number 3 on my Spotify this year. And you are probably going to finish on my Spotify Wrapped. And I think I would be the first person you have, besides yourself, that will have you on a Spotify.
Sweat, let's go.
Drew Sweat. I'm going to have you on my Spotify Wrapped, and I will be by his side until he finishes that work up. But yeah, shout out to Drew Sweat. He's the reason Bayani is where it is today. Obviously, I'm not really doing this for the money or the glamour or the glitz. I'm not trying to make a TikTok hit. I'm just trying to make something that I can listen to and, look back on and be proud of. And I think that if it had not been for him, I wouldn't be able to do that. So shout out to him.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to listen to him now. You really gassed. You pretty good at gassing somebody up.
It's the breakup album of the summer. I'm telling you that right now.
Really?
It's the breakup album of the summer.
Damn.
Shout out to him. He works with like insanely talented people too. And if you want to support the local Connecticut music scene, if you're a Connecticut person, like reach out to him because he's got connections all over the place. And those connections just network out into this massive underrated hip hop and rap scene. By the way, there are some insanely talented people that live in this state who cook up some devious art. Lil River is one of them. If you know Lil River. Lil River's in Paris right now, though, so I don't know if he's back. I don't know if he's out in the studio right now.
So let me ask you real quick. You said that you named your EP and first single Bluebird. Naruto reference? Question mark?
So it's a half Naruto. It's a half Naruto reference and a half other thing. I think I'm comfortable going in on this because we're both past it at this point. That's a breakup album right there.
Yeah.
And the person who I kind of based that project on, they had a thing for Bluebirds, and I was like, I remember also seeing in Andrew's studio he had a little like DJ mixing table, and plastered on it was like, it just said Bluebird in like this beautiful font, and I was like, I think we should call it Bluebird. And then he was like, I was like, I don't know what it is, but something's telling me that like I have to name this Bluebird. And I wrote those, whatever it is, like 6 or 7 tracks about this unnamed person, but person nonetheless. And I was like, let's get to something, get something working here. That was my first taste of being able to express myself through music, and I was like, I was hooked. I was so ready to keep doing it. And eventually I dropped another project a year later. That one was Labyrinth. That one was a lot fun to make. I think that one's a bit more of a mixed bag. And then finally the one that I just dropped this past month, It All Goes Down From Here, which is The only thing I've released where I could listen to it like front to back and be like, this is the proudest I've ever been of my work for sure.
So, let me ask you this: how long, or on average, does it take you to write a song?
So, it's a process for me. When I want to work on a new song, I'll usually build what I think is like a foundation of it. So one of the first things I'll do is I'll get a chorus. Well, obviously I'll have the beat first. So the beat takes me maybe like just some foundation work, like maybe like an hour to do. So I would say like an hour for the beat. Once I've got that beat kind of started and I haven't realized what I want to do with it in terms of adding new instruments, I'll add a chorus, and a hook is usually the first thing I want to do. So if I know that I'm going to go melodic with it, I'll record the chorus first. I'll sit there in my room and I'll just be like, I'll have the Antares auto tune turned up, and I'll just just kind of and then I'll listen to myself do that over and over again until I'm eventually mumbling something that sounds like coherent. And then once that starts, I'll log on to Google Docs, which isn't typical for most artists. I'm telling you right now, I don't know any other artist that uses Google Docs for their work. Most of the times it's in the Notes app, but I'll go into the Google Docs, I'll pull up, I'll start writing, and I'll figure out, hey, does this word sound better here? Does this one sound better here? I would say maybe just for the chorus alone, it would be a 45 to an hour minute work, and that's just for the foundation.
So you write out all your lyrics in Google Docs rather than...
Yeah, so I'll write them out in Google Docs, and then I'll just go piece by piece.
I don't think that's bad.
I
like
think
it. Sounds structured.
It's structured, and it's easy for me to kind of rinse and repeat for a lot of songs. It takes out a lot of the process of like having to like figure everything out all over again because it's a whole new song. So I'll just end up doing that over and over again, and then once I finish up the chorus, that's when I'll be like, okay, do I want to do 2 verses on this one? Do I want to do 3?
Yeah.
Do I want to do just 1? And then I'll repeat the chorus again, something like that. And then once I figure out, because usually the way I flow my songs is it isn't primarily singing. I'll try to get a couple bars in there once or twice, and then once I get the verse or 2 in there, I'll listen to the song in its whole, like just it's completely bare bones. So, all I hear is my main vocals, my chorus, my hook, and then that's it. I haven't added any background vocals.
Yeah.
Maybe there's like a synth and a drum for the beat, and then that's it. But then after that, I start kind of building up on it. Like it's like a tower where it's, okay, you got the chorus, let's add some melodies in there. You got the melodies, let's add some background vocals in there. Okay. Maybe you want to add like, a bell here and there, or like a
More cowbell.
SNL was right about that, by the way. Songs do need more cowbell, and I think I will never stand against cowbell slander. You heard it here first.
I like that.
Cowbell slander will not stand in these areas.
So let me ask you the fact that Bluebird was also attached to, I think I'm pretty sure you just mentioned a situationship.
Situationship, summer fling. Let's go with like.
That must have impacted you strong enough if it really made you want to incorporate that, huh?
Yeah, I think for me it was when I was writing it. I think that was one of the things I was probably dealing with the most, because I was young. I mean, I'm not saying I'm old now by any means, but I'm so far into making music that it almost seems like immature to be writing music about specific people rather than just general thoughts. And I mean, looking back on it, like my relationship with said person is good now. So there is no bad blood between the two of us.
Right.
We've talked it out. We're like relatively good friends, but that doesn't change the fact that it was something that I was dealing with emotionally and something that I was dealing with personally at the time that I kind of couldn't write anything about like any music without kind of looping back towards that.
I think that's real though.
It's because that's all I wanted to write about.
Yeah, exactly. I gotcha.
And it's something I dive into in my second project, where it's like the second half of that project, I talk a lot about how like imposter syndrome is a big thing. I don't want to pretend like I'm something I'm not.
Right. And
I think that out of everything that I've written, the third one is probably the realest version of me that I put out, but I think Bluebird is probably up there because it's a lot of, diving into what made that situation what made that situation not work and what made those things, kind of fall apart the way that they did. it was. I'm kind of going against my own word here. It was my form of therapy back then because I wasn't really smart enough or mature enough to realize that, I couldn't solve my problems by writing over a pop R&B beat. But, since then I've learned, and I look back on Bluebird negatively more towards the sonic aspect of it, so the way it sounds, rather than, any sort of memories attached to it. I think that, in my head, in terms of like personal importance, I think that project still stands at the top because it was still my first. So, I love that project through and through. I love, what I wrote about it. I just hate how it sounds. I
gotta listen to it now.
I really just don't like how it sounds. But I mean, yeah, it's there, and it's gonna stay up there for sure.
So let's rewind it back before the music, before it all. Take me back to when you were in high school, or even before. Just that version of you. If you were to look at the younger version of you now, and kind of compare yourself, the version of you now to the version of you then, what are some major differences, or what would you tell that Gio?
Work on yourself. I think one of the things that so recently I've been going through a very like self-care, like mental health era of myself, just figuring out who I am as a person, doing a lot of soul searching. And I think that one of the things that I kind of take away from my time in high school and even my early college years, is that I was selfless for a very, very, very long time. And I think that it would get to a point where that selflessness would turn into being a doormat and just kind of, letting people in your life do what they wanted to do with your life rather than you doing what you wanted to do with your life. And I think that, it took me years to realize that. But if I had to like sit myself down, 16-year-old me or 15-year-old me and just like look myself in the eyes, I would say like focus on yourself, worry about yourself, because I think the more I didn't worry about myself, the more I didn't care about myself. I think that's when it got worse. And I think I was like, this is something that I want to work on because, at the end of the day, the most important person in your life is yourself. I think people really don't realize that. I think people will end up, putting these people onto platforms that probably shouldn't be there because at the end of the day, the person on that platform should be you. It should be you that you care about. It should be you that you're thinking about. It should be you that you're loving. And, I fell into that kind of spiral where it was like, I wanted to make sure I was pleasing everybody. I wanted to make sure that everybody knew who I was for being this amazing good guy who was friends with everybody. And then eventually it just turned me into like a chameleon where it was like everywhere I'd go, I'd blend in because I would change up who I was that day. Or it's like, I think a lot of people have, there was like, the memes where it's like, I just said a friend group 1 joke in front of friend group 2, and now people are looking at me weird. I never had that issue. I always knew what jokes to use with which friend group.
Right.
But then I realized I was like, but like that's not me though. Like I know what I like. I know what I like to do. I know what I like to do to enjoy myself. So it's like, what am I doing here? What am I working with here?
I think one of the best lessons I learned that somebody told me back when I took a gap year before college was they told me, picture it as if you live in a village and there's a well. They said, you're the person that is making sure that everyone else gets their water. And then before you go to get like your own drink, before you know it, there's no water.
There's no water in the well.
You need to make sure that you get your water and take care of yourself. You could also make sure other people are good, but don't forget about yourself.
Exactly.
And when I heard it, I honestly took that kind of analogy to just really sit back and think what the hell am I doing? And it worked. It really did work because I kind of fell into that same spiral as you did, and it feels terrible.
It does.
When you finally realize, holy shit, I'm
a mess.
I'm living as a sidekick, not the main character.
It's like I can't even be the main character in my own story.
Yeah, I was like, who's that? What was that character's name in Beauty and the Beast? The Gaston's assistant. You know what I'm talking about? The little troll, his little helper, his little friend. That's what I felt like.
The guy who was gassing everybody up, without realizing that he was gassed up the entire time.
And when I realized that, I said to myself, "Yeah, this is a problem. We got to change that." And then honestly, Central really changed everything. But we're gonna get to that. What was life like in high school for you besides dealing with all that?
So I mean, I could sit here and like I think another thing is like a year ago I would have maybe said that my life was harder in high school than I think, but honestly it was just kind of average. I had a girlfriend for 3 years. We got along pretty well. Like I think that it was genuinely just like a slow 4 years of high school. I know a lot of people look back at high school as the fondest years of their lives, or you only get to be young once, but for me, it was just I had a solid relationship for a couple years. For the most part, I was like physically healthy. I was mentally, I wasn't mentally healthy, but I wasn't aware of it. So in my mind, I was mentally healthy. But then just going out and figuring out that like, I was friends with most people. I was one of those guys where it's like, I didn't have like, I had like a friend group, but like most people just saw me as like the guy that was like friends with everyone.
Yeah.
I was like, like there wasn't a group of people I didn't get along with. I was friends with the theater kids. I was friends with the jocks. I was friends with the nerds, and it was like straight out of high school BS stuff like that.
And you went to high school on the West Coast, right? If I'm not mistaken.
I actually went to high school here in Southington.
Okay.
I didn't in Southington, Connecticut. Shout out to Southington, Connecticut. Blue Knights forever.
Cooked us and everything. But
yeah,
yes.
I mean that's like a top 3 football program in the state right there.
Insane.
That's a top 3 football program in the state. Yeah. So I went to Southington High here, which was a lot different from when I had went to elementary and middle in California. It was really weird because like, the just general culture. I'm blessed enough to say that, I lived like 2 hours out of the biggest cities in the world for a good portion of my life, where, for me it was always LA till I die, and then I moved here, and now it's like I think New York City is the greatest city in the world and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which is kind of crazy, and I think that I would get ridiculed by my Californian family members.
Kind of seen as sacrilegious. Yeah,
it's seen as sacrilege if I go out of my way to praise New York City. But when I went to high school here, I mean, how the typical Connecticut high school experience goes. I was a minority in a very white class, so I had to deal with that. Most of my friends were white. There was like 3 other Filipino people in the entire school, and one of them was my brother, so it was like 2 other Filipino people in the entire school. And it was just like, it was slow. I think that while I look back on high school fondly, I think that the memories that I've built up in college have been far more remarkable than anything I would have ever. Because I think people aren't like, look, I don't want to shit on people for being high school, proud of how they lived in high school, but like, like really high school, like,
that's where some people peaked.
If you're someone that peaked in high school, like, I'm sorry.
They're not, and those are the people, they don't want to admit it, but they did.
The people who peaked in high school though don't listen to the Fudge Effect. Only the people who are if you're
not subscribed, you peaked in high school.
If you're not subscribed, you peaked in high school.
Crazy.
And if you don't listen regularly, you peaked in high school, and that's very sad. But like, like I don't have anything against high school by any means. Like it's just like, like I didn't know how to drive in high school. My parents were always worried about where I was. We were doing school from 6:30 in the morning to 3 p.m. and like weekends were filled with homework. So like, like what? Maybe I just lived a different high school life from everybody. I'm like, where are these people finding this time to be doing stuff like this? Like,
dude,
my life is so busy all the time. It's like, there's a party this week, and then there's a party a couple days after. And I'm like, dude, I have an essay due next week.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean party tomorrow?
It's actually insane the fact that we all made it out of high school. The amount of homework laid on you. It's actually insane. And plus, I did football, which then I'd have practice right after school till 5:30, 6 o'clock.
Yeah, it's stuff
go
like that.
home, eat dinner, shower.
It's like if you had extracurriculars, it's like you got like, and I was a very big playing video games with the boys type guy. It's like you get like an hour with the boys because then you'd have to go to bed at 10:30 because if you didn't, then you'd miss your 6:30 alarm. And now all of a sudden it's like where do people find the time to do this? You got like 2 free days out of your week, and now all of a sudden like you're supposed to be living the best years of your lives because you went to junior prom or like senior skip day.
I went to school on senior skip day. I stayed in school. I said, nah, I'm going to class. I'm
not risking the absence, bro. I'm like,
yeah.
I'm like,
yeah, I was a rebel. I was so against the grain in so many levels. Yeah.
You're like, these guys are not going to believe where I am right now.
Yeah, I went to class. It was mad chill.
He's like, where are you? He's like, oh, we're at the beach. Oh, we're at the movies right now. It's like, I'm with Mr. Smith in 5th period English right now.
Yep, I'm in class. And plus, free lunch, and why not?
It's like, what else am I going to do on my day? Everyone else is out and about.
No, seriously. I didn't want to go to the beach. No way.
I did. I was unfortunately part of the tragic class of 2020. So it was.
Let's talk about that.
So it was. I think that a lot of it, for most people who graduated in that year and anybody who graduated after, I feel like a lot of like personal progress and growth gets stunted when you. I mean, obviously you're taking a whole year out of people's lives,
right?
And replacing things that they went their entire lives expecting that they would have, to just go like that, you know?
Snap it.
It's just like, it's gone.
Yeah.
Prom was gone. Senior day was gone.
Was prom something you really wanted to go? Were you in the relationship at the time?
So I wasn't. So that's a funny story.
Okay.
We had gotten back together, but we had broken up by the time the pandemic had started.
Damn.
So it was like, even then, even if prom did happen, we weren't gonna go together. So I look back on that. I'm like, hey man. Thank God there was no prom. Thank God there was no prom, because I was not going to be the guy who was showing up alone to prom.
Right.
But it was like, like graduation and shit like that, where it's like, I wanted to walk the aisle with my boys, and now all of a sudden, graduation is split up into 4 different groups, and I graduate at 10 in the morning. Instead of like with the rest of my friends, because it was like split up. It was like, oh yeah, because my class was huge. My class was massive. Like, it was like, oh, so these 125 people will go at this time slot, and then the other 125 will go at this, and then the other one. It was like by like alphabetical order, and it was like, yeah, I just spent the past 11 years of my life in public schooling. Pleased to know that I would be graduating alongside Brandon Rodriguez and Kevin Rodriguez. It's like, I've been waiting my whole life for this. Brandon, who I had never spoken to, and Kevin, who I had also never spoken to. Yeah. We're ride or dies for this last day. That's why we really wanted to graduate together and stuff like that. And it sucks. It really does.
Would your prom have been at the AquaTurf?
Yes.
That's what we had ours.
Yeah, it would have. It would have been either at the AquaTurf, or I think the year before that they went to like some random country club in like, like Wallingford or something. Like, oh, we can go to here, and I was like, all right, whatever. I remember hearing, my brother is a year younger than me, so the year after they had their prom at Lake Compounds, I'm pretty sure, and I was like they have like a little dance area, and they're like, yeah, you can go there, and then after you could ride on the rides and stuff like that. It's like, yeah, let me just bring my entire prom tux and then get on Boulder Dash.
Yeah, I was about to say Boulder Dash.
Get on Boulder
Shout
Dash.
out to Boulder Dash.
Get on Boulder Dash as soon as I can.
Yeah.
It's like, what's like whose idea was this?
Yeah.
Like, why are they doing prom and homecoming like this, dog? It's crazy. And I mean, I really do feel for the people who had to go through what I went through, because, and I mean, obviously the years after, because the pandemic, it's never really ended. Just having to experience getting that taken away from you, and having to experience losing something that you anticipated having for your whole life. It's like, it's, it feels like you got something taken away from you. You feel like a baby with a lollipop, and you just watched a grown man take that lollipop and just throw it on the floor. And I was like, all right,
spat on it.
You just spat on it, and then there was like, it was like, oh man, like, what happened? Like, how did this all happen?
Yeah.
And I think it does, burn something into people's brains. And I mean, all of that aside, obviously, everything that has gone on with the pandemic, constantly praying for the people who are affected by it, for sure. But I think that that's something that people kind of shy away from, is how much people get stunted while they are in school. And, for kids who were going into school for the first time, think about like these kindergartners who had to spend their first years in public schooling over the laptop, and like, kids like that, kids who are in 7th grade, who are, scientifically, that is proven to be the year where most kids do their developments, and then all of a sudden they're spending it on a laptop at home, while half of them are playing Minecraft on one side, and then the other half are asleep on the other side. It's like, that doesn't reinforce, like, constantly experiencing things in social situations. You aren't interacting with people regularly. You aren't talking to figures of authority that can help shape you as a person. It takes away from it. And I mean, a lot of teachers were affected the same way too. And I think that that's something that people also like to avoid talking about. Where it's like these, it's like I'm guaranteed a job by next year, pretty much, because of how many teachers had to drop out of the profession because they just couldn't keep up with teaching online. The technology was too confusing. Students wouldn't be paying enough attention. They couldn't figure out how to do, activities in classes that required hands-on participation and required as much focus for teachers and students as possible. And I think that leaves a lasting impact on a lot of people, and that leaves a mark in these people's brains that it's like, people will talk about like, like how everybody graduates, yada, 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 or how everyone goes to prom. It's like, you remember how you went to your prom? And I was like, no, I don't. Yeah. I don't remember that.
Yeah, my prom was trash. Like, it was good for some people, but I had the stereotypical heartbroken at prom story, sob
You were
story.
sitting at the center of the dance floor, watching everyone else dance around you. The spotlight shines on you, and you're like, damn, I'm really the one that's out here by himself.
No, you know what? Sort of. I'll give you a little bit. Story for another day.
That's a story for another. Yeah, that's post podcast discussion.
Yeah. We could talk about that over like a Burger King meal or something. but yeah, that was a tough day for me. So real quick before I give you a little bit of this spill, so I wonder, what you brought up is a very great point, and I always wonder what would happen if I were to take how I am now, because I was never comfortable in my own skin back in high school. Very insecure, always sweating, super anxious, always thought that the whole world was looking at me in every move I made, and I thought that was normal. And I was like, oh shit, yeah, that's not normal.
That's not normal.
But now, and I'm glad I got into Central before 2020, because I learned the communication skills. I got these connections that I'm forever grateful for. And if I was in high school, like if I was in your class, I would have been so screwed, because you're taking someone that's anxious, so uncertain, and then you're adding even more uncertainty on top of that. Like, that would have been the perfect storm. But so all right, so let's talk about prom a little bit. Let's talk about prom. So, we're just gonna go to the night of. So the night of, I finally, let's just put it this way. My prom date was somebody who I finally thought, like, you ever, like, there's people who get into relationships and they're healthy, they're great, they're wonderful, and they're happy people, but they didn't get into a relationship with someone where it's like they had their whoa moment with that girl or that guy or whoever.
Their like, movie moment. Where
it's like, let's say, like, I'm just being objective here, just random example. Let's say it's like two sevens that are just, they linked and then they're cool. It's not like the people see you as like a 5 and you see a 10 and then you somehow, it's like you're Adam Sandler, you get a Jennifer Aniston.
You were the guy who took his glasses off and let down his hair, and all of a sudden you were the hottest guy at the school.
No, that would have been great, but it was one of those moments where, because that was my mindset all through high school, and to an extent it is now, in a healthy way, I'd like to say. But my goal was always, if people tell me I can't do something, or like I won't be able to obtain something, like a hot chick, or like whatever, just like getting a certain grade, doing something in a video game that they said can't be done unless you're professional, whatever, so anything random. I was like, no, bullshit. I'm gonna keep trying. I don't care how many attempts I get at the plate. Sooner or later, I'm gonna hit a double or a single. Or
eventually the ball hits the bat.
Exactly.
Eventually the ball is gonna get hit. Eventually.
So pretty much, I was in that situation, the dream scenario with a girl who I thought was very attractive. It was unreal, and like, I would go home in my free time. I'm not even kidding, and I would try and plan out how every time I talk to them, I'm gonna keep building on. Like, I really nerded out on this. I was like, I need to make sure nothing goes wrong. That should be a red flag as to that you're not with somebody
that you should be with.
That's a red flag.
You go home, you open your notebook, and you're like, I'm gonna do this.
No, not the notebook. It was all mental. But yeah, for anybody listening, if you somehow didn't know this yet, if this is a saying that should go for anything. If it costs your peace, Not worth it. I promise you.
Not worth it.
I promise you. There's so many people I've met at Central, just whether it's like friends or whoever. As soon as I start to like go down the path mentally, where I'm like starting to like teeter and like try and like play good guy, good cop, bad cop, or just like pros and cons, I'm like, yeah, probably not.
Probably not.
Yeah, if you have to get into that position,
it's best to cut it off now while we're ahead.
And the longer you let it persist, it will really just wear you down mentally. But yeah, this individual back in high school, dog, like for months, I am just on edge, can't mess this up. If I start talking to another guy in school, like just like even in the hallway, just casually,
panic.
I'd be like, oh my,
what is happening?
God,
what is happening?
Exactly.
What is happening?
Exactly. It was like not the SpongeBob scene where he's saying what's the name, but like in my brain, it's like when they're running around and like everything's on fire. Like, what do we do? What do we do? Type of thing. But yeah, so the night of prom, I thought I dressed very classy, for someone who never really cares about what they wear. I thought I came correct. She looked good at the time, and I didn't know what to expect of the night. I really didn't, but it just somehow turned into this weird thing where we just didn't really talk, and we sat at the table to eat. One of the things that pissed me off was, we got our food last of all the tables.
Out of all the tables.
And it was one of those things where I didn't want to be that guy who was like, but I'm really hungry, I want to eat, while everyone's on the dance floor. So like I didn't even get to eat.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was just this whole mess. I'm hungry.
It's like, what are you doing eating, sitting down? It's like everyone else got their food before I did.
Exactly. So I'm hungry. I'm having a mental breakdown in my head. Like I need to somehow save the night. Because like her and I weren't really talking. It was, like I said, it was already a little bit on edge even beforehand. And my one dream, Gio, let me break this down to you. My one dream since I was a kid was, my one goal is to say that I've met someone that is perfect for me. I find them absolutely stunning, and I get to have a moment where I have a slow dance with them, and just nothing else matters except that moment.
It's a beautiful dream to have. I think that's most, when it comes to situations like prom, that is most people's like optimal dream scenario there.
And I was this close to getting that moment, Gio. So no, there was no dancing. I didn't really like get down on the dance floor. I didn't do nothing. Like I kind of just stood off and to the side, or like from a distance. And then when the music clicked, it was, I want to say, "Thinking Out Loud" by Ed Sheeran. That's what they played.
A classic.
Yeah, of course. And I promise you, had no idea where she was on the dance floor. But it was one of those things where I look up and there she, like, just, I could have looked anywhere. And of course I look in the direction where she is, and we locked eyes, walked towards each other, right when I'm about to dance. Because it was one of those things where it's like, honestly at that point, I don't want to say it kind of felt forced that we would have had to, but it's just, I don't know. But we were just like, you know what, fine. And right when we were about to start, this other girl, who this girl had beef with, they somehow magically got along in that one moment and started dancing with each other. Like, this girl came out of nowhere. It was like, hey guys, how's it going? And they started dancing with each other. And I was like, dude,
no.
I was like, all right, dude, fuck this. The like, if The Color Violet had a music video, it would have been my prom.
Like right there.
It would have been my prom. I should have just stormed out right then and there. But then
you got your tie is undone. Your jacket's all crumpled.
Exactly.
You're sitting on the side. You're hunched over. You're like, damn.
Exactly. Yeah, it was a mess. And then let's not get started on the prom house. That's whatever. I give you like a sugar-coated version, whatever. But yeah, like that's just my prom. Like, you can have a chill prom, even if you went by yourself. Especially if you're comfortable with yourself, you don't have any anxiety, or you're just chilling.
Yeah,
like, it's easy to have a good time.
It is.
For me, I was always very calculated. I always said, like, I don't want to say that I was the one person in the friend group who like had to control everything and like how it had to go, because I don't want to say that. But I definitely wanted like my opinion to be heard and shared in a way, or reciprocated. Mm-hmm. And nothing that weekend. Nothing my senior year went the way as planned. It was so bad. But like that's just a little glimpse of high school for me. So like, you missed out on some things, but maybe it's a blessing.
Maybe it's a blessing.
Maybe.
One of the things that I tell people all the time, whenever, because I don't know what it is, I always find myself in these deep 2 a.m. conversations with random people all the time, is that things happen because they were supposed to happen that way. And the only thing that you can do as a person is to take those experiences. Chris actually dives into this perfectly, because I had him record an interlude for that project that was just released. He says very specifically, you need to be the type of person to, shape and mold yourself based off of the experiences that you've had, and to not be afraid to do that, because I feel like a lot of people, when things don't go their way, they think that the world is against them, but things happen the way they do because they're supposed to happen the way they do. Maybe I was meant to not have a prom, and maybe because of me not having that prom, I'm the person that I am today, and I couldn't be more grateful for the person that I am today. I think most people should be grateful for the people they are today, because, everything that you've gone through as a human being, whether it be the negative experiences, whether it be the good experiences, whether it be the ones that have a bitter taste left in your mouth, they are your experiences and they are nobody else's. And I think people tend to shy away from that idea because, they are what make you, who you are. Everything that happened to you at prom is what made you Mario.
So true.
If what would have happened if things had gone differently at prom? Would the Fudge effect still be around?
It's the butterfly effect.
Would you have still gone to Central? What could have changed in those? If that little drop of water in that ocean of life that you have just changed. And I think that people should be more grateful for the things that happen to them and be more aware of learning from experiences, because at the end of the day, the human mind is so goddamn complicated, to even get like a little bit of knowledge as to what's going on in there. Like it spreads into something like really, really beautiful.
And I'm glad you brought this up, because honestly, there are a few changes that someone who's down in the dumps can make to change their world in a very positive way. Mm-hmm. One of the things you said is they can feel like the world is pitted against them. If you can go from the mindset from why is this happening to me to what is this trying to teach me, like this moment of time, this era that I'm going through, this chapter, your world will change for the better. I watched this thing on Netflix. It was Jonah Hill's Therapist. I don't know if you saw that.
I think I've seen clips of it.
Yes, it was very good and it was very interesting. And the therapist pretty much said, there's usually a commonality when it comes to why people are depressed or they're anxious. There's usually like the similar things. And he was saying either they're not around the right people, or like I'm just gonna name two of them that I can remember, or they're not working out or like working on their fitness. Mm-hmm. He was saying like that is such a big thing that is so, I don't want to say underrated, because it should be super up there. Your health should come first over a lot of things. And the reason behind that is if you can put yourself through constant adversity, which is the gym or working out or like doing something that is not easy, and you keep showing up and keep getting your ass kicked, and you might not see the results now, but you know that
you're going to see them eventually,
and you're doing the right thing, that little things like being rejected by asking someone for the number or whatever it is, they don't faze you as much, because you constantly put your body through this temporary I don't want to say hell, but it's something that is uncomfortable, and going through constant uncomfortable experiences will make certain difficult or times of adversity, it makes them a lot easier.
It teaches you a lot.
Yes.
And when you start to get those moments of adversity thrown at you, and you already know how you as a person want to go about it, it makes things so much easier, because then you don't have that built up stress where it's like,
right,
I've never been in a situation like this where it's like I've had to face this much adversity. No, you go right into it and you go, this is how I'm going to do it. This is what I'm going to do to either fix it or to change, how I feel about it. And then we're going to make it work. As long as you keep telling yourself, I'm going to make it work, it'll work. And that's something that, I live by. I live by that a lot, where it's, just because things didn't go the way I wanted to, doesn't mean that I can turn those things into something else that I want. I want to change my world for the better, and just because the other parts of this, the other parts of my world aren't, clicking and turning the gears the way I want them to, doesn't mean that I can't make the most of it. It doesn't mean that just because my plate was stacked high, it doesn't mean that I can't just keep going. Just because someone, is struggling doesn't mean that you necessarily have to keep, letting yourself down, or that you have to be worried about letting other people down. It's
Right.
just a matter of changing perspective and, gaining a better understanding of yourself as a person. And then when you gain that better understanding, you can gain a better understanding of your relationships with people. I've ever since I started this whole like focusing on myself and pushing for therapy, which, by the way, like I will say again, if you are a man and think that therapy isn't for you, the strongest men in my life that I know have been to therapy or are currently going to therapy. And I think that men shy away from the idea of therapy a lot. Please do not be shy of getting getting mental health assistance, because it's something that, a lot of battles can't be fought alone.
Don't buy into toxic masculinity.
Do not
It's
buy.
bullshit.
Toxic masculinity is bullshit.
A real man shares his feelings.
A real man cries.
And
too.
cries, yes.
real
If you
man
didn't cry
cries.
at Toy Story 3,
You're not a real man.
you're not a real man.
And you peaked in high school.
It all goes back to
It all goes back to peaking in high
Yes,
school.
if you support toxic masculinity, or if you're a man, don't show your feelings, you peaked in high school.
That's what people teach themselves these days,
Right.
man. Is that
It's so sad.
it's like you have to, real men don't cry, real men don't share their feelings, real men don't do this and that. Hell no, dude. The strongest I've ever seen, the strongest people in my life has been when they went out of their way to be emotionally vulnerable, to be honest, to be real, and to cry in front of me. Like that is some real
some
shit.
manly ass shit.
That is some manly ass shit right there, because that means that you did not care what the world thought.
Right.
That you wanted to feel exactly how you felt in that exact moment.
So, at what point did you realize that you wanted to go to college and that you wanted to go to CCSU of all places?
So for me, I think most people can relate to this. I grew up in a middle class family. We weren't living paycheck by paycheck by any means, but it wasn't like we were living luxurious.
Right.
And for me, the big thing was I wanted to go to a place with a phenomenal teaching program. Because high school, I will say the one thing that shaped me a lot in high school was the teachers that I had. I got along very well with a lot of my teachers. A lot of them shaped me to become the person I am today. And I thought, one of the big things was I wanted to be home. I liked being home. There's only so many moments you get with family that you kind of take for granted. And I think that if I were to leave home now, that, it wouldn't be the right time. And living in Southington, I was a 20-minute drive away from Central. And I was like, it'd be really great to save some money right now, because I still stand by the firm belief that CCSU is the best, bang for your buck out of any college in the state.
That's fantastic.
It's a great university that has taught me a lot of things, has introduced me to some amazing fucking people, and I think that for me it was like a no-brainer. Some people, when they go into applying for colleges, they'll have a massive list of places they want to go. My list was 3 long, and the other 2 were just completely out of the question, because I wanted to go to UCLA and then I wanted to go to UMD. I applied, got immediately rejected by both, but I applied.
Yeah.
And Central was like, hey, yeah, come here, we'll give you a scholarship and stuff too. Why not? And I was like, yeah, sure, sure, man, I'll take it.
Sure.
I'll take it. I'll take whatever you guys are gonna give me.
Right.
And then I started. Some people did the thing where it was because, at least in my group, where it was people would go to Tunxus first because they didn't want to spend their first 2 years online.
Which is not a bad idea.
Not a bad idea. Especially with the way the college programs are working now, where it's you can get a full 4 or 2 years or whatever at Tunxus completely free if you're a student. But for me, it was just the sooner I get into university, the better, because for me, no one in my family ever went to a massive university. My oldest brother was a dropout. My second oldest brother was a community college student, and obviously my younger brother hadn't gone to college yet. My mom and my dad both went to school in the Philippines, so it wasn't a major American university. And I was it'd be cool to be the first in my family to go to a university.
So does that make you first gen if you go to?
So I'm first gen because I was born in the Philippines, and came here. So second gen would be if your parents came here. and you were born here. And then third gen would be if your grandparents came here and your parents and you were born
Gotcha.
in the United States.
Okay.
So I was born in the Philippines, but I moved here when I was 2. So I never really even got a chance to like kind of live in the Philippines like that. And then, for me, it was like having that first gen experience where it was like, I'm the chosen one. I was the one that was supposed to be going to college and shit like that. And I mean, CCSU genuinely has changed my life, like, for the better, like, so much,
Tremendous.
You meet so many, like, understanding and, like, so many aware people of, like, like, how, like, I think that people are really unaware of how, like, other human beings are, depending on their state of mind. But I've met a really, really good group of friends who have taught me to, to be more emotionally vulnerable and to be the realest version of myself that I could put out there. And I think that without that, I wouldn't be even close to the person I am today. And I think that if I'd gone to community college, not to shit on community college, because community college is a great way of getting your education, but I think
saving your money.
And saving your money. But I think for myself, personally, I needed to go to Central because I needed to, like, have this experience. And I think a lot of people share that, that people share that sentiment where it's like, oh, I want to go here because I want the college experience, even though it's never actually defined what the college experience is. Nobody knows what the hell that is.
Yeah.
But it's like, for me, the college experience was meeting people and joining clubs and going to events and stuff like that. Like, you and I first, like, properly hung out at that basketball game that was, like, our first proper time hanging out. And that was, like, I was like, this is sick. And I mean, like, that's where we had the idea of getting me on here for the first time. And, stuff like hosting my events there. Even there was a college prom there. I got my prom comeback. Yeah. And it was way better than I think it would have been in high school because I went with people I would have wanted to go with instead of, like, people where I was like,
you had no choice.
Well, these are the people that live in my town, so I guess I can go with them.
Yeah.
No, it really is. If you've got the money to do it and you think that you're capable of completing 4 years of college, like, go to school. And, like, I know a lot of people don't say that because some people are different. Everyone's different. I think for me, it's if you want to value certain things in your life, then college is the path for you because, I've learned a lot about myself that I don't think I could ever put a price tag on. I don't care how much Central could have charged me. If it was something that didn't leave me with $0 in my bank account, then I would do it all over again.
Right.
Wouldn't even think twice about it.
And it's a great way to reinvent yourself, recreate your identity. If you went to just a random high school in Connecticut, and let's say Central is not too far from home, but it's not necessarily close either, and you're not going to see a lot of people that you went to high school with, it's like taking yourself and plopping yourself in a random map, a new map.
Like, nobody
knows who you are. And it's a chance to start over. Hi, my name is so-and-so.
Yeah, this is who I am.
Yeah.
This is what I like. This is what I do. Mm-hmm. This is how I behave. I think it's great too because the people I know who went to my high school at Central now are, like, completely different people from when I had first, from what I remember them. Some people I didn't know were party animals are party animals now and stuff like that, where it's like, I was like, all right, you know what? If that's who you want to be, and that's, that's great. That's why I didn't go to UConn, because UConn was like, everyone at my school went to UConn, and I was like, I would rather explode than run into certain classmates ever again.
Yeah.
Especially because it's like, from what I've seen, is like the same 12 people who I didn't really get along with at UConn or in high school now go to UConn, and they all are still in the same friend group and almost act the exact same as they do. Gosh. And I was like, oh, did you guys learn nothing? Did you guys learn nothing from the opportunity that you guys are given here? It's like, oh, it's so tragic. And, it's like, that's, you bring up this point of, like, being able to reinvent yourself. That's a fantastic thing. Because some people hate who they are in high school. Like, I did. If I saw myself in high school now, or like maybe like my senior year, my junior year version of myself, I would have beat myself up. I would have bullied my my high school version of myself because I was an asshole. And, like, I would rather know that I was an asshole than, like, live the rest of my life thinking, why was everyone an asshole to me in high school? Because, there's that phrase where it's like, if one person's an asshole, they're an asshole. if everybody's an asshole, then you're the asshole.
Yeah. I've heard that one. That one's clever. I like that one.
Then it's like, it's like I was the type of person where it's like I thought that I was the shit. I thought the world revolved around me, and I was, I look back on that and I'm like, that, like, whoever that was, I have no idea who that person was.
I mean, you gotta kind of be like that, and just a little bit.
Yeah, it's like,
because if you're not living like the main character, you're not living.
It's like, as long as you don't like cross other people's boundaries doing it, for sure. It's like you don't do it to like an unhealthy extent where it's like, guys, everything needs to be about me right now. And if it's not about me in the next 30 seconds, somebody's gonna get hurt.
Yeah, isn't it great though, the amount of people you can meet, and the thing is with Central is it's not a big campus, but it is at the same time.
I like to call it's the perfect size. It's literally the perfect size because UConn's a city, dude. Like if you've ever been on Store's campus,
I've only been to that what is it, the ice cream place?
Yeah. Oh my god, dude, that place is massive, and like and like it's like. Something about knowing that people know who you are, but not really knowing who you are is nice, if that makes sense. Like, if you want people to know your name at UConn, you gotta be like, you better be on the championship team that just won this past year if you want people to know who you are at UConn. Yeah. But it's like here, it's like, I would say that most people that I run into who are friends with my friends know what the Fudge effect is. I would say that most people are aware of some of my close friends. Most people know who Chris is. Most people know who Savannah is.
Right.
Shout out to Savannah Wallingford. I was just texting her right before this. She it's stuff like that where it's like you don't have to know everyone, but like when you start to get to know people, the campus isn't too big that you can't really build upon it, or it's like I get connections with these people, and now I kind of get to do my thing there because I know so many people. It's like people always ask me, how do you know so many people at Central? I like talking. I like people are cool. I've met some really great people there, and like now I get to use that to kind of my advantage. I got ins everywhere. I got an in at the student center and an in at this department and this club and stuff like that, and it makes life easier to know people and to like be able to talk to people.
At what point, or let's even see if this has come across your mind at all in your lifetime. I'm sure it has. At what point did you think to yourself, or did it hit you where you can't please everybody and not everyone's gonna see you as the good guy? Have you ever thought about this phenomenon? So
I think that I first came across that in the 5th grade when I was, the only time I ever got bullied in my life was in the 5th grade. And that was when I realized that not everybody can like me. But it took me a very long time to come to terms with like being okay with people not liking me. I think that people can take their personal image very, very seriously. And how they depict themselves amongst other people. It's like, I hope people think that I'm cool because I do this. I hope people think that I'm cool because I do this. You don't have to live your life like that. You don't have to live your life constantly thinking like, what is so-and-so going to think about me if I do this? What is so-and-so going to do?
Yeah.
And, as soon as you realize that, there are some people at Central I still don't like, but that's, I digress on that.
Yeah.
And like, they don't like me either. And we've come to terms with the fact that we don't like each other. And the beauty about Central is that it's a big enough campus to where I don't have to avoid them all the time because, it's not like I constantly run into them. We just be in different places at different times. And, like, it's great. So even for, Central, again, is the perfect place for that because I don't have to interact with people I don't like. And it's not small enough to where I'm running into these people all the time. And it's not big enough to where I don't get to know people. And I don't get to, like, interact with people on a regular basis. I think that place is very much its own, like, flowing ecosystem of people, and I think it's interesting to just like step back and look at it, see who knows who and stuff like that, because once you meet one person at Central and like you can build upon it, you can meet a lot of fucking people at Central. And it's like, meeting Chris introduced me to so many people because he knows everybody. It's like every other walk that we'll take, he'll be like, well, that's my boy over there, and I'll be like, bro, that's like your 8th boy, right? That we've met on this walk. Like, who do you know? He goes, I don't know, I just know people, bro. And I'm like, I guess so.
I never would have thought I would have met the amount of people I know now
Yeah, I mean, you had enough to run 74 episodes of it.
Yeah, true. Yeah, true. That was funny. Yeah, that's funny you say that. When I first started doing this, these friends of mine, they were saying, dude, like, you're going to run out of people.
I was going to say, did you ever worry about running out of
people?
people?
And I was like, dude.
I'm not running out of people.
No. But it was one of those things where I was like, I didn't truly know what the future had in store, but I was like, dude, I got this. Just like, I don't know how, but I'm going to just say it. And I figure as soon as it was one of those things where I had a lot of local people on, and then that was the foundation, and then as soon as a couple central people agreed, then it just took over. It became this like hive mind. Then the more you walk around campus, you say hi to people, you meet people to people, and because I work at the rec, shout out the rec, like that was a whole monster. I wasn't even ready for. I love that place, and I love the people there. I love the people that graduated. It's insane. I never would have thought. And
the beauty of it is, if you run out of people, you can just run repeat episodes.
True.
So it's been long enough to where you could just bring a person on that was already on there before.
I really could.
And that's the beauty of it.
Yeah, we'll see what happens because I have one more semester left. I might go for my master's, but I'll figure it out. We'll get there. We'll get there. Yeah, we'll worry about that. Kick that
that's
can
future
down the road.
Mario's
exactly. I don't worry about that right now. Hey, you, me. No, I'm you, but you're me. That's so trippy. You got this.
You got this. And even if you're not Mario, you got this. Unless you peaked in high school.
Yeah, that's what I say.
Did
you peak in high school?
If you didn't peak in high school and you're subbed, then you're good.
W chat. So let me ask you this. So for me, and obviously Maldo graduated, and
my boy JP graduated.
JP graduated. Shout out to him. Is anybody else we're missing?
Not that I could think of at the top of my head, but if I didn't mention you, I am so sorry.
Congratulations.
But congratulations, yeah.
Yes. So for me, I have a semester left, and honestly, it doesn't even seem real. Because COVID threw everything off.
Yeah.
It just seems like, you got this because I came in the fall of 2019.
So you had like the year.
Simulate. Plop us back in like fall of 22 or something like that.
It was either 21 or 22. I think it
whatever it was, spring of 22.
I think it was the back half of 21 or the beginning of 22.
It just still doesn't feel real.
Yeah, because it's like realistically, like we missed out on 2 years of college.
Yeah,
because we were just sitting at home, fiddling away at our computers and not focusing in class.
Right.
It's like every guy I knew, wasn't ever paying attention in class.
No.
And half the time the teacher wasn't even paying attention in class. And it's like, that sucks.
Yeah.
But it's like, it never really does feel real, does it? I know Chris to this day is still rambling on about how he can't believe he's graduated and stuff like that, and how he's a real adult and has to get a real job.
Yeah, it's gonna hit him when we're on campus and his ass is working.
He's at his 9 to 5, and we're chilling on campus. He's like, "Oh, you want to go out?" He's like, "I can't, bro. I gotta get up early for work tomorrow."
Yeah.
Enjoy it while you can.
Seriously.
If you're a student who is still going to school and you haven't gotten into that life yet, enjoy it while you can, because from what I've heard from the people who I love and care for dearly that have graduated, adult life is boring as fuck.
It is, and so that's why I'm kind of glad. You want to talk about blessings in disguise. When I took the gap year, it wasn't even intentional. I just didn't know what I wanted to do, and it came to a point where I missed all the deadlines to apply for colleges, where it just became this thing where, okay, here I am, gap year. Let's do it.
Sure, let's just figure it out.
And I got to work. And so what I did was I worked at a restaurant. I worked in a couple of the industries like lifting stuff, stock boy stuff, whatever it was. But I lived for me, the schedule was 7 to 3. Mm-hmm. Wasn't bad. It still sucked because when you get home, you're so tired.
You don't want to do anything.
You don't do anything, and then time flies so much faster when you're at home
and not on the clock.
And not on exactly.
Oh
it's actually scary because like yesterday, because I'm working over the summer at the rec. I got out of work at 12. I leave to go get lunch and finally got back, and it was already like 12:40. I'm like, dude, I just left the rec. What are we doing here? It's so weird. But yeah, I know what to expect, and that's why I'm doing yes, but I'm also doing the podcast and for you music. But it's it's little, whether it's, like you even said, you're not doing it for the money. You're doing it because you love it, and it's a way to just enjoy your time or create something. That's exactly what this is. Like whatever, like you said, I'm not trying to make a hit. Neither am I. Would it be a dream if somehow I was walking in the street and bumped into Post Malone? He's like, "What's up, man?" And I'm like, "Dude,
You want to go on the podcast?
yeah." And he's like, "Dude, I got nothing going on, man." And you know, and like that'd be a dream. Like that'd be incredible. Just like random guy. Like that'd be incredible to talk to somebody and pick their brain about life.
It's like if one of my songs went viral on TikTok,
Right.
I'm not going to be like, oh, man, I really didn't want that.
Yeah, like it's obviously bonuses, but like you're doing something you love, so it's not gonna feel as bad. It's not gonna be a drag on you. But when I truly mean this, when you are working, you may want to make sure that you are doing something you love or genuinely have an interest in, because it won't feel as bad when you're going to work. Because me and a friend were thinking about this, and we were saying, okay, when school's over, then what? And I was saying, well, then you're going to be working full-time, and probably going to be Monday through Friday schedule, looking forward to the weekends. When it's the weekend, you're probably going to be thinking about work, or it's going to fly by. That's just how it is.
Before you know it, it's Sunday.
Before you know it, it's Sunday. You get the Sunday scaries because you got to work tomorrow. And it's going to be like that. And then eventually you'll meet somebody, probably going to want a family, get a house, maybe take out a loan. Yikes. Or whatever it is. Then you're in debt again if you went to school and you got yourself in the hole already, whatever the case is. Keep doing that on a never-ending loop. Then you got to pay for kids stuff. You got to go to sporting events. That's all great. To me, that's a little sidebar. I think that's low-key when like the prime of my life is going to be, when I have a family. Don't know why. Just that's what I think.
It's a good feeling to have. It
Yeah.
means you're ready to be a family man.
Yeah. I'm my whole life I've never been someone that seeked out excitement and pleasure and doing crazy, daring shit. If my kids want to do that, obviously if they're safe and of age to do certain things, that'd be great. But I think I'm going to get most of my enjoyment raising a family or like developing
The slow
culture.
parts of life.
Exactly.
The blissful.
Yes.
A lot of people live their life without peace. So when people get that peace, they want to make sure that they have it for as long as possible. Getting a steady, like my dream is to have a steady job, to be in the suburbs, and to
suburbs. Yes,
suburbs are it's like, oh, I want to live in the city. Nope, I'm good on that.
Screw the city. Too busy. It's too much.
Too busy. Too loud. Too fast.
Yes.
I would rather take every day step by step, and and that's why I do the stuff that I can do while I can now, because I know that at some point I'm going to settle down, and I'm not going to be upset with settling down. But, it's something that I've been looking forward to, and that I won't be able to, sit in the studio for 7 hours a day and sit there making music and then play video games for another 4 hours. Like, that's not something that's realistic for me. But,
right.
If I can fit it in my schedule now, then there's no better time to do it.
Exactly. And so like the family thing, all that's great. But I want to make sure that when I have to go to work, I don't want to see it as I have to go to work. Like, I get to go to work. Like, people always say, oh, what's your major? I'll say communications. And they say, oh, you could do anything with that. And I go, but what? Like, they'll say you can do anything with that. And I agree with you, but that's the question. But, like, you have to pick something. Don't know what yet. Not stressing about it. I got this.
As long as you got the degree.
Yeah, exactly. As long as you get the
That's
degree.
the hardest part.
Yeah. But we'll see what happens. But I want to make sure I'm doing the thing that when I wake up in the morning, it's like, yep, gonna go to work. I'm not stressing about it.
I got to go out and get paid.
Exactly. And when you're there, and it's something where you're not even, like, obviously the money's great and you need money to survive and live, but in a way you're not even doing it for the money. Like, you're not like, oh, making this, like, if I'm working this amount of hours, I'm getting this amount of money. It's like, no, I'm getting paid, but I also love it. So, like, I'm not, like, that's all great, but, like, I'm enjoying my time here.
I have a job.
Yeah.
I'm lucky enough to say I have a job. There are some people out there who don't have jobs, who aren't as lucky as I am, who aren't as blessed as I am.
Right.
It's a beautiful thing in life.
Great.
Some people should just be okay with having an average life. Be okay with taking it slow, because if you keep living life too fast, you're going to eventually steer off into a weird direction, and who knows where you're going to end up. I would much rather be alive, breathing well, and in a stable area than God knows where with God knows who at God knows what time. Yeah. No, that's not for me.
And the thing is that because you're doing this on repeat, and obviously you want to make sure, like the thing is I know it sounds cliche, and I haven't even started it yet because I'm paying for school, but I want to learn how to be financially literate. That's something my family for generations has like struggled to do, and I want to be someone to like break that trend and like save right, be able to pay for my kids' school, whatever the case is, and put them in a position to do the same thing and succeed. Little things like that. You want to find ways to, I don't want to say like better your parents because like that's not what it is, but you want to apply what they taught you and then add more. So then it just, the family line just keeps getting better and better and
Keeps
better.
getting stronger and
like,
stronger.
Like it's the bloodline or something.
You're acknowledging the Malaves.
Exactly. That'd be fantastic. But you want to be able to find a way to keep finding ways to get better and enjoying the process, because before you know it, when let's say the average person retires at like what, 60, I don't know.
Yeah, around there.
And you retire, you're too old to do all these fun vacations and do, like, let's say you go on vacation, like you're so old, like what are you gonna go surfing at 60? Or like what's a dream thing you want to do? Do it now. Do it in your 20s. Try and find ways, if you can afford it, like save up, go take those trips. I'm not someone that enjoys vacations or seeks that, so like
whatever
makes
you happy.
Exactly.
If you know that this is your chance to do it, then do it now, because you're gonna regret not doing it if you don't do it now.
Exactly. And it's gonna be so interesting to see if our generation could possibly put an end to this, and maybe we figure out, instead of a 9 to 5, maybe we call it the 8 to 3, 8 to 4. I don't know.
Yeah,
we maybe move
like
it a little earlier. We make it not sound as bad.
Maybe not everyone's working 5 days a week.
Exactly.
Like,
The 5-day work.
The 5-day work week is the worst thing to ever come out of.
Why couldn't it be like 3?
It's like,
Why couldn't it be like 3?
Like give us a, like
10 to 11 hour work. I don't know. I don't know, man.
That's an issue for all of society to fix, and until I get, maybe when I get into politics someday, maybe that's something that I'll remember this conversation to be like, right? My friend on the Fudge Effect told me that the 4-day work week is optimal, so we have to do it like that, or else I'm going to be really
or
pissed.
else you peaked in high school.
Or else you peaked in high school. Your Honor, they peaked in high school.
Yeah. Yeah, but I don't know how it's all going to turn out, and I really hope that people find peace in the struggle, or peace in this interesting cycle, because think about it, once school is over, it's over. It's just work and whatever else you choose to do outside of those walls or wherever it is you're working. And I got a little taste of it. I don't know if you ever saw the movie Sausage Party.
Yeah.
Where the honey mustard comes back from. he's like, it's so fucked up, man. It's awful. You don't even know, man.
It's fucking terrible out there, dude.
Yeah, like that's what I don't want to say I'm not dramatic when I tell people, but because I took the gap year and I got a taste of it, and it was like, what the heck, dude? This is it. This is what people do that aren't in school, or they couldn't afford to get that education, or they missed out on an opportunity. I was thinking to myself, damn, my ass needs to be in school. I need to be around people my age still that are also still trying to figure it out. I need to.
Like, all due respect to 36-year-old Robert who works.
Seriously, God bless him.
God bless him. But I think it's best for my personal development and my personal growth.
Personal legend.
I be around people that I want to be around. Not to say I wouldn't want to be around 36-year-old Robert, but there are better things in life to be doing at certain points, and I think that people should be more aware of that, and people should be more willing to take that risk, because you don't know how long you have that opportunity before it's gone, and you don't want to lose grasp of that before you get the chance to look back and think, well, I could have done that when I was 20, but I didn't because I was doing so and so and this and that and stuff like that. It's like, nah, that's not the vibe.
Is there anything specific on your mind that you want to accomplish throughout the rest of your CCSU tenure, or your goals that you wanna check off?
So I don't know how much I can talk about this. Actually, I can talk whatever I want about it because I'm the main event planner. Over at the station 107.7. If you don't already know,
yes, shout out
to the Edge. I will reinforce. I'm wearing both of my WFCS merch right now. We have this big event that I've been planning on trying to make work, where we take a bunch of local artists, not only musical, but like artists who are maybe in the art department at Central, and we want to take it and transform it into this artist showcase type thing where we have live music and have people showing off their art and kind of reinforce this idea of art as a beautiful like medium, and kind of have our name tied to that would be amazing. And I think that that's something that we're working on right now. That's something that we want to get done by the summer and have happen in the fall.
Right.
Obviously details are still a bit foggy, so there's not too much I can say on it, but
Right.
that's probably something that I've been dedicating the most of my time to, was figuring that out and making sure that that works out the way I want it to work out. So if I had to put a legitimate goal besides like graduate,
Yeah.
it's probably that.
What about in terms of personal growth? Anything on your mind yet? It's okay if not. Just wondering. Food for thought.
This week actually, I started looking for therapists. So
Nice.
I
Good for you.
think finding a good therapist and sticking with them for a good amount of time and having good sessions is probably something up there.
Do you meditate?
Yeah, I do meditate.
That's great.
I
Good
I
for
do
you.
meditation outside of my. I drive over to when I do meditate, which used to be like once a week. I would go over to Walnut Hill Park in New Britain, and I would sit down for like an hour, just myself,
Wow.
and like whatever I would hear, and just kind of enjoy my time doing that. And I think learning how to do that definitely helped me, come to peace with just things in general. Come to peace with things not being at peace, and like understanding that that's okay. So probably meditate more. I just started running recently, so maybe
Nice.
I want to do like 40 miles by the end of by the beginning of July, I think is the goal. So that would be cool. But I mean, besides that, it's just like take it day. I take it day by day, man. Like
That's how it should be.
I don't know what tomorrow is gonna bring. I don't know what the day after is gonna bring, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with not knowing what tomorrow is gonna bring, because at the end of the day, the world is a very big place. The world is everything changes. There's so many pieces to the puzzle that if I'm able to get something figured out before it happens, then I'll do that. But I can't go into a day expecting things to go the way I want them to.
That's just a very healthy way to live, too. That's kind of where I'm at, too. Day by day. Worry about today. Go to sleep. Wake up. All right.
As long as I wake up with a roof over my head and a bed to sleep in, and I can go home to that same bed
Yep.
and that same roof, then I have no problem with how I'm living life right now.
So, one of the big questions that everyone always asks is, what does it mean to be happy, or what is happiness? One thing that I've always thought is, if you can go to bed without having anything weighing heavily on your mind, you just go to bed, just casually go to bed, and you could wake up the next morning, get out of bed, and take that morning piss, brush your teeth or whatever it is you do, and you're just chilling. You're not dreading anything. You're not hating the world. You're not thinking all these negative thoughts. You're not breathing different. Your breath is calm.
Your heart rate is
Your
normal.
heart rate is normal. You're just chilling. You eat your breakfast. Get dressed, whatever it is you do, or even go back to bed, watch TV, whatever it is. But you're chilling. That's a good day. That's
a
the
good
start
day.
or the end to a good day.
I think that loops back to our point before you and I were both talking about how we're both people were like, man, the suburbs life don't sound too bad to me. And
Yeah.
stuff like that, where it's like, there's something so peaceful about not having to do anything.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, things will happen where people will have to dread things. That's just inevitable. But once you
Right.
get past it, it's like, it already happened. You
Right.
can't do much to worry about it now.
Right.
Only God decides what happens from me from this point forward. So as long as I just take it for what it is,
Exactly.
as long as I get through it, and I get to go home, I get to sleep and have a good time, then I have no issue with how I'm living my life.
So, before we get you out of here, I want to make sure we cover your most recent project. It all goes down from here.
It all goes down from here.
So, what was the inspiration behind the project? Talk to me about the journey of the project and how you feel that it's been. I don't know what the word would be to be used, but like how, in terms of feedback from the people.
Yeah. So, one of the things that I do want to dive into is that project is a concept project. It's split in half. The split in the project comes at Rose and the Shade /Visions.
Yep.
That's why it's the only song on there that's two separate songs. One of the things that I dove into a lot was mental health, because a couple months ago I was in a very, very bad place mentally, and I think that this project, I kind of used that as a way to express to people who weren't aware of my situation that I was going through something like that. And the first half of the project is reflective of, both halves of the project reflect two things. For people who don't know what seasonal depression is, at specific points in the year, people will get severely depressed, and there's not much of a reason to explain why.
Especially the winter.
Yeah. So that's exactly what this project is split into. It's split into the summer and the winter. The first half of the project is summer, and then it ends in the summer portion at Rose in the Shade, and then the winter portion starts from Visions onward to the end of the project. That's essentially where I did it. And then Rose in the Shade and Visions is its own separate thing, where Rose in the Shade is supposed to represent a bad trip, and Visions is supposed to represent a panic attack. And then that's when it all like kind of loops back together into this big concept about mental health. I came up with the concept a while ago. Rose in the Shade was like one of the first ones I'd finished. Right next to, I think that last song was another one that I'd finished really, really early. And I think that's when I realized that I wanted to do like, a project about mental health, because the project I released last year was more so just me wanting to put music out and like having fun with it. And then this one was sort of my melt my eyes, see your future, like, that type of music where it's like you get this really vulnerable person or version of a person that you didn't expect to see. And I think that was something I wanted to achieve, and I think that I did it to the extent that I could have to that project. The first track, Conversation with No One, people love that song, and I love that song too. Like it's in terms of pure numbers, it's the most streamed song on that project by far. And I think that lyrically, it's probably some of my best work on there, and I love that track so much. But like,
what made you want to, or what? How did you go about the order? I know obviously you say summer and winter in terms of the split, but how did you know that you wanted that to be the intro?
So for me, it was just something about like, I hadn't released music in a year, and I wanted to remind people that I was here. And I think that the way the song starts, for those of you who have never heard it, you should stream it so you can get a better idea of what it sounds like. Or you peaked in high school if you didn't stream it.
Yep.
The song starts very quiet. It's very solemn. All you hear is this very, very faint guitar sound. And then that last guitar sound flicks, and then boom, everything's happening all at once. The horns are kicking in, the trumpets are blasting in your ear. All you hear is
it's an experience.
The background vocals.
If you haven't heard it, it's an experience.
The background vocals kick in,
Insane.
and then the drum rolls start kicking in, and then boom, the beat drops, and then that's. For me, it was just like a reminder to people that I'm back. Like, I'm here, and I'm here to make what I want to make. This isn't a version of me where I'm trying to please as many people as I can. This is who I am.
Yeah.
And that was what I wanted to accomplish with that song, and I think that is what I did accomplish with that song. And I think that, just having that, be something where it's like I'm talking a lot about mental health on that. It's the concept of that song is supposed to be that I'm having a therapy session with myself. Whenever I picture that song, I can imagine myself on the couch leaning back, and then I'm on the other side with the clipboard. Right, and I'm just talking to myself, and I'm like, that was the goal of that song. And then the next two songs are like breakup songs, because I have a tendency to have summer flings, and a lot of the time they don't work out, which I mean is okay.
Yeah,
it's okay for relationships to not work out, by all means. But that was one thing. That was something that I noticed was a recurring trend whenever I'd have seasonal depression. Was that relationships wouldn't work out, so I wanted to make sure that was the focus on like the summer part. That's why songs like Attention and Sign are about another person rather than myself. And then when you get into the second half of the project, it's all like thinking, a lot of it. The second half of the project I look at very much as like my half of the project rather than anybody else's, because a lot of it is talking about who I am as a person, the things that I've struggled with mentally, the things that I've gone through mentally. The last song, for those of you who don't know, my grandmother passed away earlier last year, and I wrote that song about her. And to this day, I still cry whenever I listen to that song, because that is like probably the most important song that I've ever written in my life. And, I share that song with my mother now, and we've gotten so close because of it. And she shares it with so many of her family members, and it's like that's that type of feeling you could not pay for that type of feeling.
And is that Swear on My Life?
Swear on My Life.
Okay.
Yep. Swear on My Life is probably the most important song. It was the first song I wrote, and originally I was just going to release it as a single, but then I realized that I could turn this into something a lot bigger if I just take the time to look back at myself and look back at my relationships with people, whether it be romantic or friendships, and then just get a better understanding of who I am as a person. And I think that's something that I accomplished very much so. That being said, the project itself is also, like, in terms of how it's produced and how it sounds, it's just like easily some of my best work. I've had a lot of learning since I started making music. I think that the project after this is going to be better than the last one, but
really?
I think everyone thinks that about their newest stuff.
Yeah. I really. So I'm not gonna say this because you're here and it's like, oh, I'm gonna glaze you because you're here and it's like, oh, nothing but compliments. No, but truly I want to give you your flowers and let you know, like, this is impressive stuff. Like, this is it's very I don't know the word. I can't figure out, my vernacular is not clicking today, man. But it's definitely cool to see somebody who isn't afraid to make something and let the world see it. In this case, hear it, experience it, feel it, and you're just like, you know what? Like, I don't care if you don't like it. I don't care if you do like. Obviously, it's nice if you do like it. But like, it's one of those things where it's like, I'm glad, like, I appreciate it, but like, it's out there because I wanted to make it. It's respectable. It's admirable because you're going out of your comfort zone and you're displaying a side of yourself that maybe not everyone will know about you.
Oh yeah,
and
for sure.
what I definitely like about your style, at least for this part, I'm gonna have to go through your whole discography. I'm not gonna lie. And Drew Sweat, right? Drew Sweat.
Drew Sweat. DREWSWEAT. Space in the middle.
But dog, I love the way you. At least when it comes to this project, how you'll have like a little interlude or like just like sounds or like a little talking, and then the song start. I love that.
Yeah, so
please keep doing that.
That's something I intend on continuing.
It's so good. It's just different.
For me, the reason why I did that was because I realized that a lot of the relationships that I have today have made me the person that I am, and I wanted to make this my project just as much as it was their project.
Wow.
Obviously, I got everyone's consent with using that, but what I wouldn't tell them was that I would be randomly recording conversations that we had throughout our days, and a lot of those conversations that you hear in those songs are like, except for obviously the Chris one, was the one where I went out of my way to record that, but a lot of those conversations are conversations where people don't expect to.
It's just natural.
To hear. Yeah, the one of Jared, the one with Jared, who was on the show twice or 3 times now.
Yeah. Look at you.
He was on the show 3 times now, so you should be familiar with him.
Yeah.
The one of Jared was a video I recorded for him like 6 months ago, and I never had any intentions of doing it. But when he says, "Would you rather know how you die or when you die?" I was like, that's different. That is like accidentally like beautiful. And I reached out to him and I was like, can I use this? And he was like, you have more than my permission to do this. And one of the coolest things was that now that these people have this, like I think the coolest thing about this is when you post music on Spotify or Apple Music, they ask you for writing credits. Every time anybody was in that song, even if they just laughed, I gave them a writing credit. So now I get to tell all my friends that they are officially like official writers for like music that has been officially published on Spotify and Apple Music, and they could look on if you are a person that was on that album, you can look on there right now and you will see your name next to every single song that you were a part of. So shout out to all those people who agreed to be part of it, first of all, and the people who were willing to go out of their way to listen to it, because the people you hear on that project are also probably the people whose throats I've shoved this project down the most, where it's like, guys, please stream this, share this everywhere. And it's been a lot of fun to do that, and I don't intend on stopping either, because I love hearing their voices. It reminds me that I'm not alone.
Right.
That's something that whenever I listen to that project, before this, a lot of projects would always just be my voice and maybe 1 or 2 other voices. But when I listen to this project back, top to bottom, I hear the people's voices in my life that are very, very important to me, and to be able to hear that and to know that this feels just as much as for them as it is for me is something that like I could never imagine myself doing artistically like as well ever again.
Would you ever want to have a concert or perform like an album performance at some point, or would you say you're just I'm gonna drop it, just chill off to the side?
I mean, I've never done like live performances for my own music, but like for the reason why like. I don't want to toot my own horn, but like the reason why I'm able to pick up melodies and harmonies as well as I can, and why my voice can reach most of those places that you would never expect to hear out of my voice. Because to be honest, the way my voice sounds on those songs compared to how my voice sounds with this conversation right now, it's obviously very jarring and very different. And I did choir for 8 years, and not many people know that unless you knew me in high school, but I was a choir boy for 8 years. So it's like I had like, choir warm-ups drilled into my head, and like figuring out what sounds good and what sounds bad, and like that's probably helped me with my music the most, is having already known how to sing and shit like that. But I mean, I would love to do a live performance. You should. I think. Fire. I mean, maybe at the artist showcase, maybe I'll go up there for a song or two. But that'd be something cool for sure. I know I'm capable of doing it, and I know that I'm. It's something that I want to do, but that's for the future for you guys to find out.
Even a music video or like something.
So we do have a music video planned to shoot for A Conversation with No One already.
Dude, let's go.
We're going to be doing a music video for that one pretty soon. Probably before the next one drops, or the next project drops, but we do plan on doing a music video for that one.
If you can make the music video just as
I described,
just as big and as big of an experience as how it sounds, that'd be nuts. Because let me tell you something. I don't know if you've ever done this, and you know what? Just in case, for the sake of like teaching, so you don't throw yourself under the bus, I'll say. I mean, it's legal, so who cares? The occasional dance with the devil here, devil's lettuce here and there. All right, if you know what I'm saying. But whenever, let's say I love watching music videos, and it's like watching mini movies. It's like an experience.
It's like I think the goal for the music video for A Conversation with No One is like definitely like cinematic.
Dude,
it's something like it's something big and something as grand as the song makes it out to be.
Yeah.
And, I already storyboarded a couple things. I won't spoil it before it comes out, but they're I want to make it as cinematic as that song is, because to me that song is like cathartic. Mm-hmm. Like I could see myself at the top of like a cliff, like screaming the words, like standing and looking over the sunset, like listening to that song, and it's like, I don't know, like that's definitely one of my proudest moments on that project for sure, and I'm happy that people resonate with that as much as I do, because for sure, like before this last year's project Labyrinth, a lot of people had one favorite song, and that was the first one, and like It's weird because I always talk about this where it's like I fucking hate that song because I made that song for like in 2 hours and freestyled the entire thing, but people love it because it's a bop, and I'm like I don't blame them for liking it, because it's a fun song that has a catchy chorus. I don't blame that at all. But for me, it was like one of the coolest things about this one was I would ask people what their favorite songs were, and most of the time people would say A Conversation with No One. That was like most of it, but like I would hear different things, and that's like people don't realize how cool that is to feel as an artist, where it's like people have more than one favorite song, which means that you can tell that like through and through this project was consistently good, rather than I peaked it at the beginning and then it just kind of got slow as the rest of it went on.
Right.
And I think that was a lot of fun of it. Again, if you haven't streamed it, please do.
Or else you peaked in high school.
Or else you peaked in high school, naturally. Because that is probably the most important project to me today. But I mean, I don't know where it'll compare a year from now, obviously.
Yeah. Well, it's fucking tremendous. I know we've all given you flowers, like, dog.
I appreciate that a lot.
I'm sure you probably, because it's always the artist himself who always stresses how they want something, and they're like I don't know, maybe you were gonna drop it earlier, and then you were like, oh my god, you know what? Nope, gotta keep editing this.
For me, it was like, so I originally, actually, what's today's date? The 19th.
Yes.
So I wasn't actually gonna release it until 11 days from now.
That's right.
I originally had it planned out. Christian was very upset at me because I was going to release the single with his interlude on it on his birthday, and then I proceeded to forget his birthday. And then
that was funny. That was so funny.
I proceeded to forget his birthday.
That was funny as hell.
I proceeded to, 1, forget his birthday, and then 2, remind him that song was supposed to come out that day. But I realized that when I listened to it, I put all the songs back and forth together, and I just sat down in my chair and listened to it. And when I finished listening to it, I was like, I don't have to do this anymore. Like this is done, and like this should be released by like however long it was when I announced it, like a week from now. And I'm very happy that I did, because nothing against summer, but you see less people in the summer than you do typically in the semester, and that's just how it is. Mm-hmm. So when I released it early, like I got to when I came in, I felt like fucking celebrity, dude. People would be like, yo, that song with me on it was crazy. And I was like, yeah, man, that's so sick.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's cool to see people like resonate with parts of music where they're part of it. And like Chris loves that part in No Way to Live so much. He's like, I'm so happy with what I did there. I was like, I cooked. We're gonna hopefully him and I are probably gonna work on some music soon together where because he's been trying to get himself back on the Low River vibe. So I was like, hey man, you want to release a little something where you and I are maybe like bouncing off each other, rapping in English, rapping in Spanish, like that'd be kind of cool. I'd mess with that. But I mean, it's cool. And like another thing I wanted to remember, I shouted out before I left, the artwork for Labyrinth and for It All Goes Down From Here was done by my wonderful friend Jack Cachadurian, who I tagged in every single post I made of that. That's Jack Cachadurian. Again, I will say that again. This is much his project as it is mine, because he and I sat down and worked together and worked on that album cover, and I love that album cover so much. He basically encapsulated every feeling that I wanted to get out of that album cover and put it into that. And for that, I'm like eternally grateful, because to be able to like feel the album visually as much as audibly is like something that people don't realize. The importance of music covers is like something that like, people don't really take into consideration. I mean, looking around this room right now, there's so many iconic album covers, and like for some people, you couldn't imagine that album cover looking any different. Yeah. And like, that's what Jack did for me. Jack took what I felt audibly and like personally with that project and transformed it into something fucking phenomenal. So shout out to Jack. Shout out to him.
He certainly did not peak in high school.
He did not peak in high school.
No shot.
He is still peaking to this day.
To this day. Gio, this has been tremendous.
I had a phenomenal conversation.
And I will say this. And clearly it wasn't a conversation with no one.
It clearly wasn't. This is a conversation with two grown men right now.
But here's what I will say. If you ever need an actor free of charge for any possible future projects and music videos, I'm your dummy.
If you ever need, people.
Or if you ever want to do an interlude, I will keep saying this. I am telling you. Give me a script, or I don't care if you're recording me right now. If your phone's like recording me right now, obviously like
Mario, I already got good news for you, bro. This is being recorded right now. I already have an hour's long worth of conversation that I could just pull from whenever I want to.
Yeah, you probably could.
The odds are that you're probably going to be on the next one.
But like, you can honestly just, I mean, it's gonna sound a lot better with the mic. So like,
it's gonna sound.
You can just screen record it off your phone or whatever.
It'll work out. It'll work out.
Yeah. No, but I'm telling you,
it's gonna be great,
dude.
You're probably gonna be on the next one because I had a great conversation here, so it'll be.
This was tremendous. This is
obviously,
we'll do this again because this was.
For sure. We'll do it. Well, I mean, the next one drops in August, so maybe we'll do a little post-album release there.
I would definitely love to, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes, because obviously, that's gonna be the last dance in terms of like how many people I can get from Central. We'll see. We'll figure that out.
Last dance right there.
We'll worry about that with future Mario when the time comes. But I told you I was gonna ask you 3 things.
3 things.
Do you think you're finally ready to go to answer them?
I think I've been thinking about it wonderfully.
All right, let's start. Favorite music album, or one that you would have to recommend, where if it's like, dude, if you haven't heard this, what are you doing? You need to listen to this.
I'll give you 2.
Okay.
My favorite album of all time is Blonde by Frank Ocean. That is without a doubt.
Blonde over Channel Orange?
Blonde over Channel Orange.
Tell Maldo, you heard that.
Maldo, you heard that here. He and I just argued about this literally like 4 days ago.
Yeah, because he put that on his story,
He put that on story because of me, right?
Did he? Yeah, he's like, I respect your opinion to be wrong.
Yeah, he told me those exact words.
Unbelievable.
He's still wrong. Blonde is still a better album.
But
if I had to recommend an album that's been released maybe in the past 3 years that has inspired me a lot, it would probably be Melt My Eyes, See Your Future by Denzel Curry, which is like a phenomenal album about mental health. That's where a lot of my inspiration is drawn from on that project. I even said it when, I was doing the whole like advertising run for it, that project influenced me a lot. So if I would recommend that, it would be Denzel Curry's Melt My Eyes, See Your Future. If you've heard Denzel Curry before, you'd never heard him like that on that project for sure.
Can you give me a favorite song of both albums for you?
Frank Ocean's Blondes is going to be White Ferrari. White Ferrari is a phenomenal melody, a phenomenal like ballad that just dives so deep into personal growth and relationships with people, and it's amazing. off of Melt My Eyes, it would either be Walkin' is obvious. Everyone loves Walkin'. Troubles with T-Pain or X-Wing, which is probably the best song off that project.
Okay. Good shouts. Movie and or show recommendation or both?
Movie. If you've never seen Moonrise Kingdom by Wes Anderson, watch Moonrise Kingdom by Wes Anderson.
All right, I'm putting that on the list.
Moonrise
never seen
Kingdom,
that.
Phenomenal movie.
Really?
And then show, if you've never seen Wayne, I just recently watched Wayne, 10 episodes, about 38 minutes apiece. It's a story about a boy and a girl running away, and both of them are like super delinquents, and it's a really fun coming-of-age story. Shout out to Sam for putting me on that. That show is amazing.
Good shouts. I like
Really
that.
good show.
I like hearing things that I haven't heard of. Good shouts.
I never heard of it either until then.
Yeah.
And I was like, this show is
I'm
amazing.
glad you told me. I'll have to look into that. Last but not least, and obviously we have had some crazy sound. I never do sound bites, but we have dropped some dimes for you lovely listeners and viewers. If hopefully you're still watching or listening.
Hopefully,
please. No. But yes, not last but not least, some words of advice and or wisdom, whether it could be to your future self. I've never had anyone speak to their future self yet. That'd be fire if they did. Or just like whether it's anyone, family, friends, whoever out there in the universe is listening, or just where it's something to look back on a long time from now, whenever it is. What do you have to share? The spotlight is yours, my friend.
if you are out there and you are listening and you are struggling to find peace of mind, you should learn to be at peace with not having peace of mind, because a lot of people think that because they don't have peace of mind yet that they're still struggling. But sometimes people can walk into things not having peace of mind, and that's okay to not have peace of mind. If you live the rest of your life worrying that you'll never get to that point, then you are only stopping yourself. Maybe your mind has always been at peace of mind, but you never told yourself that. And I think that the more people come to terms with having to work on themselves constantly, the more they will eventually reach that point where they will be content with themselves. Learn to be happy. It's not something that comes magically. You have to learn it. Everything's a learning experience.
That was phenomenal. Gio, oh my God, this was great. This is everything I wanted it to be and more. I really hope that you're walking away from this feeling a sense of accomplishment, because you truly have done
I think you and I have both accomplished something beautiful here.
Yeah, I think
something wonderful.
This is healthy. See, this is like therapy. This is why I love this. This is great. See, these are two people who clearly did not peak in high school. You
and are sub to the Fudge Effect on all platforms.
Exactly. But this was incredible. We obviously gotta do the rest of the pictures and the rest of the stuff that we gotta do. But it is that time. Everyone has a story that's still being written. I love every single one of you. I appreciate you if you're still watching or listening, whatever the case is. Thank you so much. This was a blast. But that said, people, ciao for now.
Peace.